Okay, let's see what happens here. I'm not I'm not exactly sure. I forgot how to do all this. Welcome to the Buccaneers Observer. I'm back. Oh man. Got a lot to talk about, but then not a lot to talk about at the same time, as usual. It's weird coming back, man. I tell you, I did not mean to be gone so long. This was supposed to be just a quick break. And then next thing I know, 2 months later, I'm like, I got a live stream, man. BMOC, what's going on? Yes, news does stink. It is absolutely horrible news, man. But this is, any news from here until so week one is generally going to be bad news. I was hoping I'd be able to go the whole off season without having to get on and report bad news, but here we are. Here we are. Yes. I'm going to wait till people get in the chat so I won't have to repeat myself a gazillion times as to what's going on. Can everybody hear me okay? As you can tell, I got the new setup going. It's not even nowhere near finished. I moved to offices, and what was going to take, I thought, a week, maybe two, has turned into 2 months. How do we think Charlie Heck will do? That is a good question, and it's been on my list to watch some game film of him, but he's not going to be Tristan Wirfs for sure. I think he'll do okay. I think let me see, we looked him up when we got him, and I think it was his dad played. Tom, what's going on, man? I think it was his dad played. I don't know. There were some interesting things with him. Let me see. He's played for Houston. He's been in the league since 2020. He's played for Houston, Arizona, San Francisco. He's gotten a total of not a whole lot of snaps. Snap counts. Here we go. Hold on. Here we go. Oh, he's gotten 254 snaps. That's all on special teams. 1,688 snaps. Whoa, I didn't know. Okay, that's not bad. So we got some film we can look at with him. He started 13 games for Houston in 2021 at right tackle. And then other than that, he's just started a few games here and there. But he played in 15 games in 2021 with Houston, started 13 of them. Apparently there was an injury there. And then in 2022, he was in 17 games, but he only started 3. So they were bringing him in, Houston, probably as a extra man, heavy sets, whatever. When people got injured, he came in. So apparently with Houston, he didn't show enough for them to keep him around or give him a starting job. I don't know. We're going to definitely have to look at some game film of him. I'm going to have to go and see if I've downloaded game film with him. I think I have. But I'm going to put that on my list right now. Been watching a lot of game film, mainly with our draft picks. Interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff. I can't wait to talk about all that stuff. Got some videos coming out on that. Okay. Does not appear that I have game film of him. Boo. Okay. So anyhow, yeah, in case you haven't noticed, new setup. It has been a disaster. So bear with me. I actually forgot how to do all this stuff. I was like signing in and everything. I was like, what do I do here? I forget. It's trade for school. I know, right? Yeah, Tom texted me earlier. He was like, this is why I wanted to keep school. I was like, agreed. But the good thing about that was school, he went and got more money. I think he got like 2 million more than we were willing to pay him. So, good for him. But yeah, we needed to keep him. We don't have any depth. Any depth. Nothing that's nothing to write home about. Let me see. I'm going to look and see what we got. We'll talk about Wirfs here in a second. I wanted to let people get in so we don't have to keep repeating ourselves over and over. But yeah, I mean, we don't have anybody that's really, heck, is taking snaps. That's good. For some reason, I thought he hadn't taken snaps really, but he's got 1,000 snaps, over 1,000. Yeah, Charlie Hack, Benjamin Chukwama, undrafted free agents, that we picked up. Ben Scott, another undrafted free agent. Jake Majors. We got Silas Zanke, Garrett Greenfield. I don't know any of these people. Lawrence Metz. He came over from San Francisco. Oh my gosh, he stinks. I remember him. I remember us watching him on tape and me going, that guy's really bad. He's bad. If I remember correctly. So yeah, we're not looking real good. Head back up. Man. So we'll probably be having Kate Otten and Payne Durham over there helping a little bit to start the season. All right. So anyhow, if you're not aware, Tristan Wirfs had knee surgery yesterday. Now he was out last year for I think it was a game, and he had knee problem. Now, if you remember, when we were watching All 22, and I think it was about a little past midway during the season, we noticed that he was having trouble with his leg. It was his right leg, and I thought it was his ankle to start off with, but then later we found out he had a bad knee, and then he was out for a week, but then he came back. But then during the offseason, he talked about, his knee was really bothering him last year. And during OTAs, he showed up limited, and he had a knee brace on. And everybody was like, uh-oh. Well, yesterday he decided that he was, apparently it's getting worse. It's not getting better. So he decided he was going to go ahead and get scoped out and everything. And they found more damage than they expected. He was expecting to go in, get scoped, be ready for the start of the season, and he might not make it back. There's a possibility. The way everybody's talking is he's gonna get put on the PUP list, which means, or the IR, which means he might miss the first 4 weeks. The way everybody is, it's almost definite he's going to miss the first week. This is what everybody's saying. This is the rumors. This is coming from people who know. And that sucks. Now, the big reason why that sucks is Atlanta Falcons. I think our first game of the season is going to be a big deal. Atlanta is, I don't want to say they're better than us. I'm not going to say that. There's always the hope that they can implode, and there's a large possibility that's going to happen. But they are a dang good team, and they had a great draft, I think. And but they beat us twice last year, right? Both times we played them. Let me check that out and make sure that that's correct. And I'm worried about them this year. And I would really like to win this week 1 game before they get solidified. We've got a little bit of heads up on them with our guys are more together, just by a little bit. They've had a whole year together now. But we, yeah, we lost both times to the Atlanta Falcons. Close games, but we lost. I really wanted to win this first game before they really start clicking. I think later in the year they're going to be a formidable opponent. And, you know, plus we lost to them twice. Anyhow, not having worse, it's not going to help our cause. And, you know, I feel for the guy, but man, I wish he would have done this sooner. I really do. Oh, thanks, Molly. Yeah, you know, I just slapped this together. It's not nowhere near finished what it's going to be. And I'm actually not even sure what I'm going to do back there. But I got to start streaming, man. I just miss doing it. And I got to yap. I got to talk. Oh, that is how many people are watching on YouTube. I'm still working, still trying out different stuff. The 43, we got 41 now. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. 350,000 and 300,000 for our two rookie free agents. Those were the undrafted guys, right? Yeah. The refs cheated with the Atlanta games. They always cheat, man. They always cheat, and it's always the team we're playing gets the good calls, whatever. It always hurts us. Unlike every other team in the league, every other fan base, the refs are definitely biased against us. Yeah, it's temporary, right? That's a joke between me and Molly. Everything's temporary with me. But this is definitely temporary. But yeah, the Tristan Wirfs issue. Now, you know, I think Tristan Wirfs is a heck of a tackle. I really do. I'm not as high on him as most people are. I think when he switched over to the left, his first year was it was rough. And it wasn't acknowledged as much as I think it should have been, you know, that he wasn't that tier of guy to me, you know. And I love Tristan Wirfs. I really do. I think he was a great draft pick. He's going to be a great stalwart for us for many years to come. Hopefully his knee issue is not going to cascade into bigger things. But you know, I think that, you know, Baker Mayfield is really good at avoiding pressure. And we've got good blockers. We've got Rachaad White, our running back. He's a great blocker. And we've got Kate Otten. We've got Payne Durham. And I think they'll figure out a way to make this not as devastating as it needs to be. But it is a peg down for us. We can't lie about it. You know, it's Tristan Wirfs, man. You know, he's rock solid over there. Last year he picked up, he improved quite a bit, I thought, but he did have the knee injury. I thought it was an ankle. We definitely knew, you know, watching the All 22, we saw that he was having issues with his right side, and you know, it was kind of good justification for us when we found out that he did have a knee problem, you know, because we saw it. We were pointing it out all the time. But hopefully this will be the end of it. You know, he got scoped. They figured out there was more there than what they originally thought. Hopefully he'll just miss a game, maybe even not even that. Maybe he'll be ready before the season. We don't know at this point. But there is a possibility he gets put on injured reserve. They're going to find out in a few weeks how his progress is going. And they probably won't even do that. Well, it all depends. You know, if they need to get a veteran to come in, or if they feel like they need to get a guy, we're going to need the roster spot. So they might put him on IR early. We don't know. And, you know, the sad thing about it is, you know, those guys played together all year last year. The whole middle of the line was new, basically, except Mock. But he was a new Mock, you know, Mock 2. So now, you know, if we got to play another guy at tackle, That's going to throw off Bredesen, Barton. These guys are, just getting to where they're getting solidifying as a team, the offensive line, and to have Wirfs go out, who, he is really the cornerstone of our offensive line now. But so there's that possibility too, that this could be damaging on the cohesion. But also, if you want to look at the bright side, this might be an opportunity for these guys to step up. Heck, or some of these new undrafted free agents, come out there and show what they got. I mean, we might have a diamond in the rough in there. We don't know. This is a good way to find out. Chumbawamba might be the next coming of Tristan Wirfs. I tried to think of a good offensive lineman we've had, but couldn't. Who was it? Hicks. Man, that guy was so good. We got him from the Saints. It's such a shame what happened to him. Injuries. He was just a beast. He was a beast. He was fun to watch on film. I mean, just how defensive linemen avoided him. He was so good. They tried to go around him. They didn't try to go through him. I never saw him lose a block. Never. But of course, I didn't see a full season's worth with the guy. But anyhow, yeah, Chuck Wuma. I'm just going to call him Chumbawamba. He might be something. We're going to get to see some of our guys that we normally wouldn't get to see. Filling in for Tristan Wirfs. Ben Scott, we don't know. He might be a Hall of Famer. We don't know. So, there's a silver lining to him. He's from Nebraska. So, Levante David, he's a Levante David guy, right? And a Jason Light, didn't Jason Light go, wasn't he Nebraska? Jake Majors, Texas. I thought we drafted him, didn't we? No, he was undrafted. That's right. I've got game film on him. Haven't got around to watching it yet, though. I've got game film on Jake Majors. He's center, though. But yeah, Chumbawamba. He might be something. Charlie Heck. You never know. You never know. Wally, I don't understand it either. Why? I think he was going to try and just play through it, rehab it and everything. And then after OTAs, it's probably really been bothering him since. And I don't even think he did a whole lot at OTAs. I know he was on the sidelines a lot with his brace, but, he obviously decided, hey, man. But the thing of it is that he expected to come back before the season, but once they got in on the surgery, they found more damage than they expected. So that's why everybody's saying he's going to be out longer than expected. But yeah, anytime you get news at this point of the season, it's not good news. Those refs. September. Yeah. March through August is I miss football. September through February is those refs. Oh, I need to get some game film on that Chumbawamba. I don't think I have it, but wait, let me look and see. I have done 5 of our draft players, or draft guys. I've gone through game film, multiple games with them. I've got some interesting things to say. Actually, a lot of interesting stuff to say. Let me see. Oh, 22. Here we go. Chumbawamba. Nope. I don't have game film of him. Yeah, I've done Benjamin Morrison, David Walker, Emeka Egbuka, Jacob Parrish. I've got Mike Green to go. I've got Nebraska. Who do we have from Nebraska? Is that Chumbawamba? Wait. No. He's Georgia. Okay. Ben Scott. Okay, so I do have Ben Scott. Okay. I got Ben Scott. Shiloh Sanders. Tej Johnson. Desmond Watson. Those are the ones I got to go. Anyhow. Could be the next Paul Gruber. Chumbawamba. Derek Willis. What's up, Tim? How you doing, man? Long time no see. Chewbacca. Yeah, we could go with Chewbacca. I like that one. He's kind of hairy. with a name like Chewbacca, you got to be hairy. Yeah, it was Ben Scott. Ben Scott. He's from Nebraska, center. Yep. Yeah, haven't been able to do much lately. I've I've got. I tell you what, it has been so crazy. Like I said, I expected this break to be a week, maybe two. I was going to get the rooms switched out, change my office, move my door. It's been 2 months, and I saw every single time I've tried to get online, live stream, something has happened. It's amazing. I actually started keeping a list, but then I stopped. I was like, nobody wants to hear my excuses. But I mean, we've had stuff like literally right before I'll get on, a thunderstorm will roll in, or the power went out one time. Power went out for 3 days. 3 days just out of nowhere. It was just like power went out. And then the internet went out. No, power didn't go out 3 days. Internet went out for 3 days. That's never happened before. We have had great internet since we moved here. In just 3 days, it just went out, and it was 3 days. Had no internet. And then my son graduated, so traveled to see his graduation. So we were gone for that. Ended up hurting my back. Couldn't even move for like a week. It has been wild, just how life has just been kind of keeping me from getting online with you guys. So anyhow, the past couple of days I've been setting all this up, and I was like, man, I'm getting online. I tried to get online Monday. What happened Monday? The oh, I didn't. I tried. My cameras and stuff weren't working, so I spent all afternoon Monday doing that, and then no, wait, no, I didn't get sleep. That's right, I didn't get sleep, so I was really tired. And so I was going to get on, and then by the time it rolled around, I was like, man, I just can't. I just can't do it. I'm too tired. And then yesterday, I was like, I'm going to get on, and then tested everything out. Stuff wasn't working, so then I had to spend yesterday evening getting everything set up, the lights and all that good stuff, and my whole setup was just all wonky because I got stuff plugged in here and everything's temporary. So today I was like, I'm going to do it no matter what. I don't care. So that's why you get this in the background. AC went out. Yeah, that's right. We had to get a whole new AC. Yeah, our AC died on us. Just and then the guys came out, and the guy was like, I'm going to put Freon in it, but it's got a leak in there, and we think it's in your coil up in your attic. And the AC was already 10 years old, so we knew we were going to have to replace it eventually anyhow. And I was like, let's just go ahead and replace it. The guy filled it up with the Freon, and it like got cold in here for the first time. And then, so then, we were like, go ahead, let's replace it. And they replaced it, and it has been freezing us out. Now it's a lot louder too. And I've been kind of waiting for it to kick on to see if y'all can hear it. It's a lot louder because it's pushing air through. But man, it gets cold in here. The AC we had before, I was like, man, that thing was weak. Now we've got the mic. So yeah, so it's been AC, hurt back, internet gone out, power going out, office not working, computer not working, graduations. It's just been all kinds of stuff. But I'm glad to be back, man, and I'm back now. Ain't no stopping me now. Look how small that little smiley face was. Gotti, what's up, man? I have seen you everywhere. Everywhere I go and watch Buck stuff, I see you, man. I see you're either commenting or you're on the chat or whatever. I'm like, hey, Gotti, what's up, man? You've been all over the place. What do I think about the Bowles and Light extension? It is what it is. Light, I'm happy about. I know some of y'all don't like him as a GM. I do. But I do have some issues that I'm going to bring up, especially with the Egbuka drafting. Some stuff I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. Bowles, it is what it is. It is what it is. What do you think, B-Mock? Are you happy with it? I mean, I'm kind of happy that we're getting, just get it over with. Let's move on. Let's get some stability. Nobody has to worry about their job. Let's just, let's keep going. Oh, you're a former AC tech? I didn't know that, Tom. It's good work. I'll tell you what, I did not envy those guys. They were up in the attic. It was 102 outside and up in the attic. It had to have been 130. I was talking with the one guy, and they stopped at 8 twice. They had to take food breaks. And I was talking to him. He was really skinny, and I was like, dude, are you this skinny because you can't keep weight on, or you sweat it out? And he was like, yeah, he can't eat enough. He couldn't eat enough to keep weight on. And they took 2 lunch breaks, and they were just out there just eating, just sweating, drinking, eating. That was tough work, man. They did a good job though. Willis was, hey, what's up? Willis was Baker's left tackle in Cleveland, and he's available. Yeah, school was fun. He was great. He was great for filling in. You know, I was sad to see him go, but I'm glad he got paid. Hey, Kate, how's it going? Long time no see. Yeah, yeah, that's how I feel too, BMOC. Just consistency and just keep it going. And that way we don't have drama and assistant coaches worried about their jobs and all that good stuff. It's good business, Tom. Got him. Got him out there defending Bowles. We'll see. We'll see. I'm very interested to see if it changes some things. I think he's going to change this in the defense. Now the number one thing, and we touched on this last year, and it really surprised me. I think it was mid-season when I realized that Levante David was calling plays, and it was almost like a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, oh, well, that's probably a large part of the problem, because Levante David is just not. Couple of issues with that. Levante David he's not a rah-rah guy, for one. 2, he was on the John Gruden show, And John Gruden asked him about it, and Levante David flat out came out and said he does not like calling plays. And the reason why, and this makes so much sense, is because he is a very good football player, and when the offense comes out, he's watching everybody line up. He's watching who's coming out. He's watching the sidelines, and he's got instinct. I mean, he's played so long, just so well that he's developed a sense, and you can see it when he plays. I kind of made a video about it, how he's just got a sense about what's going to happen, and he says, he likes to analyze the offense when they're coming out there and when they line up. But when he's calling plays, he can't do that because he's too busy getting everybody lined up and telling everybody what the play is and what their responsibility is. And so, Levante had a tough year last year, and I think it was because he wasn't able to, he was put into a position that he just doesn't like to do, and he's not really good at it. And another thing is, Levante has that thick country accent. Jameis had it too, but it wasn't as bad. You could tell Jameis really worked on his. But Warren Sapp's got it. That thick country accent that it's hard to understand what they say sometimes. And Levante David is like that. I've listened to a lot of Levante David interviews and stuff, and he's really hard to understand sometimes. And it was funny because John Gruden had him go up to the whiteboard and call a play, call a defensive play. He said, call a defensive play like you would when Bowles calls it in. So he called the play, and John Gruden had to stop him and go, "What was that? I didn't understand what you said there. Was that boat or Bert and everything?" And I don't think John Gruden ever really understood what he said. Levante kept repeating it. And I think that was a huge issue last year. The guys just couldn't get on the same page because Levante, it's just not his forte. And I don't think it was cool for Bowles to put him in that position. He didn't like it. He didn't want to be there. And I was really shocked because in all the years I've watched Levante play, he's never called plays, or very rarely. He definitely hasn't been the play caller on defense. And I think it hurt us last year. I think that's why, especially our the safeties were just really kind of confused as to what's going on, because I don't think they could understand and get the message as to where they were supposed to be and what they were supposed to do. That's why we saw so much stuff that was just out of kilter for guys. It's like Winfield. I mean, he looked lost out there sometimes, and I think a lot of it was due to just the communication issues. So I think we're going to see Levante not being the play caller this year. But I also think that, our cornerbacks are going to have to be much more aggressive. I think those are the two things that our cornerbacks being, playing that soft coverage and not being aggressive ever really, really hurt us, because our front, I was very proud of our front last year. They were getting pressure, but those quarterbacks were just able to just throw the ball wherever, they could be getting hit and just throw the ball up. And, our cornerbacks never were a threat. So I think we're going to see a change in that. So those are two things I want to see if Bowles will change, and he said that a light bulb went off. So we're going to see what that light bulb was. Oh, you got a new roof, Tom? That's cool. Yeah, we had when we lived in apartments up in Virginia, and when we got our roof done here, yeah, we had to Mexico. Man, those guys work, man. They come out, they don't stop. They don't stop. And they're happy doing it. Yeah, I love that Gruden interview with Levante too. I listened to Levante with I can't remember who she was. Uh, some woman. I think she was with ESPN. I can't remember. It was a pretty good one. Jason Light did an interview with, I can't remember the name of that guy either, but he was a scout, and I think he worked for ESPN, but he doesn't anymore. He's got his own stuff going on. I can't remember, but that was a really good interview. Jason Light really opened up a lot with that guy. I thought it was pretty good. Light's always been, he's never been like a coach speak guy. I love that about him. I wish Bowles would be. That's what I loved about Bruce Arians so much. So much. There was no coach speak with Bruce Arians. He said whatever was on his mind. I loved it. Shiano was like that too. I really liked Shiano with his interviews. And Raheem Morris, he was great. I thought Dirk Cutter was pretty good. He would give you some good information. Had no passion though. Rampage, what's up, brother? Long time no see, man. Yeah, Tom, I think that was the problem. The back end guys just weren't getting on the same page, and the linebackers were, of course, we had linebackers that weren't really good in coverage, but there was just too many guys running to spots and not paying attention to what was going on, and it just seemed like I think the communication was a huge problem. And when I found out halfway through the season that Levante was calling the plays, I think I saw the green dot on the all 22. I was like, what? Made sense. And then if you listen to the John Gruden interview, Levante just flat out says he does not like calling plays. Yeah, yeah, Rampage. Yeah, we've been talking about that. I I think he thought he could rehab and get and work through it, and then it probably just got worse after OTAs. And unfortunately, it they expected it to be a real quick procedure and he would recover quick. But unfortunately, when they got in there, they found more damage than they expected. So that's why now he's going expected to miss at least one game. It's not official yet, but he might miss up to four. That's wild, Tom. Yeah, when I used to, my dad, we did some roofing and I weighed all of 90 pounds, and my dad had me carry two bundles of shingles at a time up the ladder, up a two-story ladder, and it was not tied to anything. We were crazy reckless, and those shingles weighed as much as I did. Man, I hated it. I was so miserable. But yeah, you see those guys, man. They just now the guys that did our roof, they had a pretty good system set up. But the guys that did the apartment, they had a belt, a conveyor belt, which I was like, that's the way to do it. Yeah, that is the way to do it. Those shingles are heavy. Rampage and dock his pay. Ah, ah. That's a good one. You can't do that to Tristan, man. He's got leverage now. Oh, MK's out with friends. Are you serious? I didn't tell him I was getting on. I kind of surprised he didn't just he wasn't the first one in as usual. Right, that's the big question. Is he going to be out at all? I mean, we're not sure if he's going to miss any games. What they're saying is he's definitely going to miss. And when I say what they're saying, I'm talking about the unnamed sources, is he's going to miss the first game, possibly have to be put on injured reserve or the PUP list and miss 4. But that, that's kind of worst case scenario is what I'm hearing. I'm not, this is not going to be any longer than that. But that's the worst case scenario. But we're going to have to see with his recovery on this. But like I said, he went in and, it was supposed to be just a scope, and they found worse damage than they expected. So then they had to do like a full surgery on him. So, I'm not, I was mad too when I first heard about it. I was like, why in the world would you wait until after OTAs to get surgery that's going to keep you out the beginning of the season? But then I found out, he didn't think it was going to be a procedure that was going to cause him to miss any time. Yeah, we don't know anything about this, this backup we've got. We've really only got the one, the Charlie Heck, that's ever had any snaps. We've got Silas Zansky. I don't know anything about him. I've never heard of him. I don't even know when we got him. Virginia Tech. Let me see. Tampa Bay. I don't even know if he's ever taken any snaps with anybody. Charlie Heck's he's got about 1,000 offensive snaps under his belt, so that's okay. And we're going to watch some game film of him. Not today. Okay, yeah, the Silas Zanthi, no snaps. He was on injured reserve with us last year, and in 2023. He's been with us for a while. Practice squad. Memory. What good is it? Useless. But really, Charlie Heck is the one everybody's looking at. We've got Chewbacca, undrafted free agent. But Tom thinks he's too hairy to play in Florida. The Heat. Vamos, vamos, Argentina. Right, yeah, B-Mock. I think that would be the only advantage. Right now we don't need to put him on anything because our roster's large. We don't have to, we have to cut down yet. After the cut downs is when we'll find out where he's going to go. If we need to get somebody to fill his spot, kind of long term, maybe a veteran or whatever, they might put him on IR. We're just going to have to wait and see. We won't know for a while. Probably till after training camp. So he's not going to be in training camp at all. Which, is probably a silver lining in the aspect of that's going to give Chewbacca and Charlie Heck and these guys, we're going to get to see them. They're going to get a chance to get some camaraderie going with the offensive line. Tell you what, man, this time of year in training camp, when training camp comes around, man, it's rare to go through a whole training camp without a major injury. But when Molly texted me today about Tristan Wirfs, I was like, oh gosh, here we go. It's that time of year, man. It is that time of year. All the bad news starts rolling in. I think they just feel comfortable with Trask. When we had when we brought Baker Mayfield in, it was a competition between him and Trask. And it went through pretty much all of preseason, right? It wasn't until late preseason when they said, okay, we're going with Baker Mayfield. So, I think they got a lot of confidence in Trask. Kate, I was saying that before everybody rolled in. The Falcons, I'm not saying is easy, man. I'm really worried about the Falcons this year. I think they beat us both times last year, and I was worried last year about them. This year, I'm even more worried about them because now they've got a whole year under the belt. I think they did great in the draft. I think they were probably the best draft team, if you ask me. They'll win the Giants, surprisingly. I really like the Giants draft. But the Falcons, I'm worried about them as a team going forward, man. And I was really hoping that we could get them week one, get that win, because I think we're going to need it battling them. You got to remember last year, we didn't win the NFC South. The Falcons lost it. When we were at a point to where if the Falcons would have won out, there was nothing we could do. And then they crapped the bed, so, I'm worried about the Falcons. I really do. They got a lot of talent over there, man. My what would make me happy is if they imploded with the coaching staff. And there's still a large possibility that'll happen. I don't think their coach has learned his lesson, but I think he might have a little bit, but I think it's going to come back and bite him eventually. But I do worry about the Falcons. Now, Houston and the Jets, I ain't too worried about them, especially the Jets. They're going to be a heap of garbage this year. Yeah, I think a lot of our team is very dependent on Baker Mayfield. He has been a diamond in the rough. Diamond in the rough, man. I really, really like Baker Mayfield. He improved so much last year. And, I was thinking about this. We had Dave Canales, and our offense did okay. Then Liam Cohen come in, and I was just amazed at how quick we were in sync, man. We were playing a top level offense, and our guys were just balling with it. And then I got to thinking, I was like, maybe it wasn't Cohen. Maybe it wasn't Dave Canales. Maybe it's Baker Mayfield. Maybe he's the reason why our offense has just really shot through the roof. And that's what I'm hoping. I'm kind of telling myself that. But his play improved so much last year. His footwork, his decision making, everything, and our running game started going off. The offensive line was playing great. I'm going to say it's Baker Mayfield. I think we've really gotten. I don't want to say lucky, but I think we really knocked it out of the park with that. To go from Tom Brady, and it's so wild as a Buccaneers fan that we've had great quarterbacks for the past decade, man. Jameis Winston, I don't care what you say, he was a good quarterback. Now, he was the reason why we could never make it to the Super Bowl, and I'm on record saying that. I'm on record. I loved Jameis Winston. He was a great quarterback. He was also a really horrible quarterback at the same time. But, before then, the Buccaneers, we've never had good quarterback play, ever. Jameis Winston, I loved Josh Freeman for 1 year. Other than that, we never really had good quarterback play. We had good game managers. Garcia was okay. Brad Johnson, he was okay, but we didn't ever really have. And then Jameis Winston. Then we got Tom Brady, and then now we've got Baker Mayfield. It's just weird as a Buccaneer fan, for 30 some years to just be like, wow, we've got a potent offense. We got a quarterback that's, I think he's up there in the top five. I'll put him in top five. And he's not the best at any category, but he's got more grit than all of them, and he's he's a leader. And I tell you what I really liked was the Gus Swayze. That flipped the switch to me. I was always on the fence with Baker Mayfield, but that Gus Swayze, I just went, I really like Baker Mayfield now, man. I think it's great. I think it was great. But yeah, if he goes down, we're going to be in trouble. I don't care how much faith they have in Kyle Trask. I think it's Baker Mayfield is what keeps this offense going right now. Kate, I worry about the Falcons. I really do. I think that they are. I think they're going to be a tough team. I think we're going to be fighting them for the division for many years to come. It ain't going to be easy. Hopefully, Rampage. I don't know if you're being better than Lamar. No, not talent wise, no, but grit and leadership wise, yes. I think Baker's got a good package. You know, yeah, I think Lamar is the best quarterback in the league as far as just pure, just skill and all that. I put him ahead of that guy from Kansas City. Y'all might have heard of him, which I like him. I like him. But Rampage, I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not, but I hope Bowles did figure it out. I hope that light bulb went off in his head. I agree with you, Kate. If I had to say there was something that Baker needs to improve on, uh, it would just be reading the field. And he's not bad at it. I think he doesn't have as much confidence in his third and fourth wide receivers. Or the new guys when they come in. But I mean, it's not. He's really a very well-rounded quarterback. I hated his footwork, but last year it improved quite a bit. And they talked about that. It's one of the things I want to do a video on is the change in his footwork. He said he was working on that during the off season. He had a coach that was like, we got to work on your footwork. And they did. Um, Frantic. Yeah, that's the one thing. That's the one weakness that I feel Baker Mayfield's got is he gets frantic. During games, he'll lose. When he plays calm and cool, man, I tell you what, you can't stop him. But when he starts getting frantic, feeling phantom pressure or feeling like he's got to force the ball down the field, he starts making bad decisions and getting inaccurate and stuff like that. That's his biggest weakness. That's what if I could say he could improve in something, it'd be that. Just to be able to, zen that stuff down sometimes. Hero ball, yeah, plays hero ball too much. Yeah, yeah. If our defense, and it's really our coverage. I mean, even when our guys were in good position in the secondary, they just never did anything with the ball. And as a consequence, quarterbacks were just not scared of our secondary at all. I mean, y'all watched me how many times I got mad when the quarterbacks were throwing right into coverage with our guys because they had no fear of them. And I think that's something that Bowles is going to really instill in these guys this year. Be much to attack, be much more aggressive. Like I said, I've been watching the guys we drafted. We got the Benjamin and the other cornerback, Jacob. I've seen some interesting stuff with those guys. The big one though is Buccaneers. I'm not going to talk about it now. You got to watch the video when it comes out, and then we'll talk about it in live stream. I tell you, I got a lot to say about him, man. But I ain't seen anybody say it. It's weird to me. It's at this point, it's this point of the year, and I say this every year. You go back and look at my videos from last year when we live streamed, where I get very aggravated with coverage. The media coverage with football. It's just like they have to try and hype stuff up, and there's a lot of clickbait, man. And I get so angry. I'll be, reading the daily articles and stuff, and God, it'll be so clickbaity, and then you read the article and you're just like, what are they doing here? It's just like, they're like, oh, this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer, cornerback or whatever. You're just like, oh my gosh. I get very aggravated. Sometimes I have to just take a break. I've kind of done that. There's that time of year where I'm just like, I just can't read any more of this slop. But yeah, the Egbuka, very interesting. Some very interesting stuff with him. And I'm just like, why is nobody pointing any of this stuff out? It's weird. But it's football. Football, and I think sports in general, is a future looking. It's a speculative endeavor. I'm unusual in that where I'm actually kind of more interested in what happened, whereas most people are interested in what's going to happen. They like to make predictions and all that, and we like to do that here too. But I like to look at the game film, and be like, what happened? I'm kind of like looking. I'm a rear view mirror looking guy, whereas most coverage you're going to get is looking forward, where they're predicting what's going to happen, and that's where we're at in the NFL right now. Is everybody's predicting what's going to happen, and I'm still looking at what happened, who we drafted, and what happened last year, and it's interesting. So yeah, the Ibuka video, I think it's going to be quite enlightening. And some of the other guys we drafted. Baker had too many interceptions and turnovers. Was it too many? Gosh, that turnover against the Redskins. Oh, gosh. The good thing about this, listen a lot to our new offensive coordinator. We're going to run the same offense, which I loved our offense last year. And we're going to run the same thing. He's just going to throw some tweaks and stuff in there. That excited me. I was very happy about that. .2 seconds to throw. A lot of that was screen passes too, I bet. Nine, man, I want to see him play a full season, Rampage. We can't have no more of this. I'm taking the first half of the season off again. He's talking about he wants to have sack records and all that good stuff. You got to play. You got to play. I love me some Cansey. Love me some Cansey. But I want to see a full season out of that guy. Of course, is that even a thing anymore? I mean, with 17 games on the schedule, I think almost every player is going to take at least one game off. It seems like everybody, especially the veterans, they're taking like 2 or 3 games off a year now. You know, and I can't really blame them. 17 games, that's a lot of games. They're going to be bumping it up to 18 soon. But most guys just don't play a full season anymore. I think it's a rare thing. I mean, gosh, how many guys did we have last year play a full season? Not miss a game. Contract year, that's when they'll give us a full season. Uh, but Vita was like that too. I think it was his first 2 seasons, man. He was out quite a bit. Start the season, especially. Yeah, Kate. Yeah, he is so fast. I did not realize last year was really when it hit me how fast Baker was. Not just running, but just he's got his seeing it, throwing it, getting it out of his hands. He's so quick. I'm 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 excited about this year. I think we're going to be really really good, and I'm excited for our run game. We I think we're going to pick up right where we left off last year. We got some news and stuff that we haven't covered since I've taken my hiatus. Ravens released Justin Tucker. That is wild. That's wild. Justin Tucker has been a staple of football. Fantasy football guy for 20 years. And then just gone. Boop, released. Did you know, speaking of the Atlanta Falcons, they don't have any retired numbers? I didn't know that. There's a few teams that don't have any retired numbers, but the Falcons don't. That's wild. We're getting ready to retire somebody. Who is it? I don't know if we're going to retire his number. We're putting him in the Ring of Honor, but it's Simeon Rice. Do we retire their numbers if we put them in the Ring of Honor? Gosh, what was his number? Uh, Golston's not coming back. That's sad. I thought, that we didn't re-sign him and all that good stuff, but I was like, maybe they're going to do like they did last year. Remember, it was like they didn't sign him until like right before training camp. But Jason Light, I think it was Jason Light. It might have been Todd Balls. One of them said he's not coming back. I was like, oh man, that's sad. Clowney was released by the Panthers. Jadavion. That's wild. That guy should have been so much better than he was. He's one of those, always injured. His first few years, he was always injured. He was such a good player, though. Jonathan Brooks from the Carolina Panthers is out for the entire 2025 season. Panthers, I'm not worried about. It's going to be many years before them or the Saints become a threat. And of course, Derek Carr retired. So Saints are like, uh, Sean Murphy Bunting was placed on injured reserve. He's out for the 2025 season. He's with the Cardinals now. Talk about falling. That's like the worst team you can play for. Maybe the Browns. Browns might be worse than Cardinals. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. And J.J. Russell has signed with the Cardinals. You remember our linebacker, J.J. Russell? Which, he did okay. He did okay. Was kind of surprised we let him go. Golston's number has actually been given to our punter. 92. And how do you? I've never known a punter to wear 92. We check on that, make sure I'm right. See if that's still a thing. Yeah, Dixon Riley. Riley Dixon. He's listed as a, yeah, our punter. He was with Denver. We got him now. But yeah, he's got Golston's number. That's so wild, you know. Golston's been with us for 13 years or something like that. Always been a staple. Never, never an elite player, but always a good player, you know. And he was great against the run. But you know, he's just a solid guy. Solid guy. You know, I always felt like when a Golston was out there, he's not going to make mistakes. You know, he may not make a play, but he's not going to make mistakes. And he's just gone now. I've been watching him play for 13 years. I think it's been 13 years. You know, no fanfare, no announcement, just gone. I used to love Jeff George. And he was with the Falcons. Man, Jeff George has always had the best arm, I think. You know, just as far as just throwing him and Michael Vick. Vick could just flick his wrist. He never looked like he tried hard, but Vick could throw a spiral 80 yards down the field, man. But Jeff George had the best arm. I loved watching him just throw it. It was like a laser beam. Yeah, the Panthers really messed up with Baker Mayfield. You know, they shot themselves in the foot right there. And we ran a lot of RPOs last year. I'm not a big fan of RPOs. I don't hate them, but I can't stand teams that, you know, that's like the core of their offense. Who was that? Who was it? That running back you're thinking of? Is that iconic picture of him in the Super Bowl, right? I think it was the Super Bowl. Was it Anderson? Who was it? Oh, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. Yeah, Julio Jones. I loved Julio Jones. Anybody been listening to our podcast all this time knows Molly always gives me a hard time about him. Julio Jones, just underrated. The reason why I liked Julio Jones so much was because he was so physical. He was the best blocking wide receiver I've ever seen. He's the only person, let alone wide receiver, the only person that could consistently block Levante David. I've never seen anybody before or since be able to block Levante David, but Julio Jones could. And I was so happy when he came to the Buccaneers. And he had a couple good games with us, but and Matt Ryan, he changed his game. You know, he was so good. He was such a great pocket passer, and then he tried to be a runner in the last few years, and it ruined him. Clowney was he looked like a superhero. You know, he just had that physique. He was so huge, but not like, you know, like Sue or McCoy or any of these guys that were, you know, just like massive arms or upper body or legs or whatever. He looked proportioned. He looked like a normal person. But then when you saw him standing next to a normal person, you're like, oh my gosh, he's like twice as big as that guy. But he was just well proportioned. Very he was very athletic too. Yeah, I'm not sold on Logan Hall at all. Not at all. Cansey, I think Cansey's going to pop off this year. I'm I'm hoping he's not going to get injured. But we're dealing with different. This is a new NFL. The guys coming up through college. Just injuries are now just a part of the game. You just got to expect every player is going to be out at least 4 games. You just got to assume that now. It's a different world. You know, we matched the Lions for injuries last year. Really, Jamal Anderson. Yes, yes, yeah. There's that iconic image of him going across the goal line. He's like horizontal, got that one arm hand out. He had the huge. His legs were so huge. If also, right? If is this his contract year this year? This will be his fourth. So is he trying to pick up his option? No, no, he was a second rounder. That's right. I always think of him as a first rounder because we moved down and got him in the second round, right? So he's not a true first rounder. He was our first pick. So he doesn't have an option. I don't think. Yeah. Contract season motivation. It is amazing what they'll do sometimes. I haven't seen anything out of him that you never know, but I mean, I saw some people were arguing about him the other day, and they were all like, "Oh, he had 5.5 sacks last year, he was right behind Vita," and I was like, "Damn, Hall had 5.5 sacks." I have to go back and look at that. I don't remember. They must have been garbage time or luck or quarterback laying down in front of him or something. I was like, I remember he had a couple decent games, but still nothing where I'm like, oh, he's on the path of being a decent player. Gosh, his first year, oof, that was so bad. That was so bad. He was lost. Was lost. Literally lost. He'd be spinning around looking for the ball at least once or twice a game. Just like what's going on. That's if we can stay healthy, Kate. You got to put that. You got to put that on there because and I don't know if it's our coaching staff, that are really give off that vibe, because Bruce Arians would flat out tell you, and he said it all the time. He had it in his book. He talked about it at the podium. Everything. He was like, if you get injured, you might lose your job, you know, because if the next guy comes in and plays better than you, I'm keeping him as a starter. So Arians put that fear in people that, we're not going to save your spot. If you get injured, there's you're taking a chance here. I don't think Bowles has that same thing. And, I don't know if he pampers the guys more, if he's like, it seems to me like he does. He's like, look, if you're not playing, if you don't feel like you can play, just go ahead and take, because he's got so many, he gets everybody to learn everybody else's position because you never know. Levante David talked about that with his John Gruden interview, that Bowles actually does that. He's like, he will switch you from position to position just on the whim. You know, he'll be like, okay, I want you to play Cansey's position, and Cansey's going to play your position on this play. You know, he'll just do that. So everybody has to know everybody's role because you never know when you're going to be put in that position. So I think Bowles has the mentality of, I don't really need, uh, I don't really need you to be there if you're injured, so you can take time off. I can fill you in with other guys, you know. Whereas Arians was like, if you're gonna sit on the bench, and I have to put somebody else in, they might keep your job. You know, I don't think Bowles is like that. So, you know, it gives guys more leeway or they're more comfortable taking time off for injury or whatever. I felt like since Bowles has been the head coach, we've had more injuries, you know. He should have been a fifth rounder. Yeah. He should have been an undrafted free agent. Tom, yes. What did we think of Penix last year? Penix or whatever. I think he did okay, right? I think Yaya did good last year. You know, uh, I think he's going to do. I think he's going to do something this year. I saw a lot of improvement with Yaya, and he was getting pressures. But like I said, the quarterbacks were just so able to get the ball off. It didn't matter if we got to him right at the snap. Quarterbacks were just able to just throw the ball up, and our guys were just not being aggressive going after the ball. You know, they'd babysit. I mean, how many times did we watch that where they'd watch the ball and then the guy would catch it and they'd tackle him? Ah, oh, I'm getting angry from last year still. I don't know, Molly, but Levante said he would do that like all the time. Everybody has to know what everybody else is doing because Gruden was asking him how difficult Todd Bowles' defense was. And he was like, man, you know, it's really hard because you not only have to know your position, you have to know everybody else's. And then he went on to explain that, which of course, you know, we've seen it, you know, watching the games, you know, just like you're like, why is Cansey playing linebacker? You know, why is Antoine Winfield at defensive end? I think that's uh, John Gruden said it in the interview. He said that he is thankful that he never had to play Todd Bowles' defense because the preparation you have to do for it is just so much work. And then Kirk Cousins came out and he said that Todd Bowles is extremely difficult to play, especially on a short week, because you have to do so much preparation because you never know where the pressure's coming from, what the formations are going to look like, who's going to be where. So, you know, it's obviously effective. You know, got a lot of offensive guys are talking about how difficult it is. To me, yeah, I'm just like, it's not worth it to me. It's fun every now and then. I remember when I first started seeing Vita Vea dropping back into coverage. I mean, you remember Molly. I'd be like, look at this. I'd call you in. I'd be like, look, Vita's. It was funny, you know. But after a while, you just go, it's a wasted play, really. Trying to be tricky. Man, what a rough year that was. Was that 2023? 2022. That was a rough year, man. Brady was all skinny, going through his divorce, had the whole FTX crap on him. Bowles was in there not making sense with anything. Rams coach is good, but he's definitely got Bowles figured out. Yeah, I like the games against the Rams though. McVay is he's going to go in the Hall of Fame as a coach. I mean, good Lord, his coaching tree reminds me of Dungy. It's just huge. I mean, there's so many coaches and assistants now throughout the league that were under McVay. I mean, hell, we've had two. Oh, that reminds me. Aaron Donald is going to be inducted into the Rams Ring of Honor when we play them this year. I loved Aaron Donald, man. I didn't like playing against him, but I liked watching his game film. He's one of those few guys that you watched and you're just like, you just can't stop him. He's like Vita, you know. But I mean, in the sense that you just can't stop him. You know, it's just like the most you can do is try to not let him disrupt the play. That's the best you can hope for. Anthony Richardson, how about that, man? Colts quarterback, he's shoulder injury. He didn't participate in mini camp or anything. Man, I tell you what, I think he's going to be a bust. What's the deal with uh, Trey Hendrickson? Have they solved that over there yet? Wish we could get him. We got some new stuff here I wanted to cover, but I got to get off here and get something to eat. I'm starving. Which, Molly, if you're still on and listening, I'm hungry. Carlton Davis uh, has signed a $54 million 3-year contract with the Patriots. He's not going to be with the Lions anymore. Oh, how about Antonio Brown getting arrested? That guy, he's going to end up spending the rest of his life in prison eventually. Either that or dead. He's got some issues. Yeah, that's what I worry about Rampage, that they're going to hang on to him, Logan Hall. You know, he'll just show a little bit and they'll be like, that's enough for us. Let's sign him. You know, I mean, if he comes out and plays good, then I won't have a problem with it. Maybe I'd like to see at least 2 years of good play before we sign him, but one would be enough, maybe. Oh man, he's going to end up sitting all year, isn't he? Dang it! I like him. I'd like. I would. I wouldn't be mad if we got him. Yes, we did, Kate. Yes, that Carlton Davis trade. Yes, that was one in our favor. We don't get those often. Oh my gosh, Molly. If AB did find the crazy that matched his, if he found a woman as crazy as he is, I don't know if the earth could be prepared for that. We would definitely need superheroes. Oh my gosh, he's insane. Uh, yeah. Let me see. One more thing here. Yes, 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 yes. Um, the It'll be during halftime. The Rams are going. It's a Sunday night football game at SoFi Stadium. The Rams are going to induct Aaron Donald into the Ring of Honor. Right? They got a Ring of Honor, right? It just says they're going to honor their franchise legend. Great. So it's going to be on national TV. The first 60,000 fans are going to receive an exclusive limited edition Aaron Donald bobblehead. So get there early. It doesn't say. I just assume it's going to be a Ring of Honor. And then we're doing Simeon Rice. Oh, I saw that we might be playing in our throwback jerseys white in an away game this year. Does anybody know anything about that? Okay. When I'm looking to see when Simeon Rice is being inducted. When we play against the Cardinals? Is that is that what we're doing? That would be funny. That article didn't tell me. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. Being biased, I want him to be in the Hall of Fame. But when I objectively look at it, I'm like, man, he was almost there, but the Week 13 home matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. That's just funny. That's where we got him from. We got him from the Cardinals. Teams love to just smack each other around, don't they? That's all right. That's awesome. I try to trust, like, Kate. I really do. I mean, he makes some boneheaded decisions. We can all agree to that. But he also, knocks some things out of the park. And, we've won a Super Bowl with him, and we've had, what, 5 years of conference championship titles, playoffs, playoffs. Uh, and I love the fact that our team is basically homegrown. I think we've got the most. Maybe the Packers have more, but we have the most homegrown players. Guys that we've drafted and are starters, and I love that. I'm a big fan of that. Yeah, he'd get McNaird talking about Antonio Brown. Yeah, what's for dinner? Oh, we're gonna lose the Rams game. How about them last year? I wrote them off as dead in mid-season, and then they just came out and just started stomping people. Ended up going to the playoffs. Stafford will have 450 yards. Trevor Lawrence, we're going to see. We're going to see this year. They're trying to build a team around him now. Liam Cohn. All right, guys, I got to get off here, man. It's been great being back. Um, can't give you a schedule just yet, but definitely this ain't gonna be the last time you hear from me. Maybe even this week. I gotta get this stuff set up to figure out what I'm gonna do with my office. It was great seeing everybody, man. And be on the lookout for my draft of videos. Like I said, I've been uh, going through the all 22 of our draft picks, and I've got some very interesting comments on these guys that you're not going to see anywhere else, because I don't think anybody else looks at the all 22. I think some of them's going to be quite surprising. So keep an eye on that. Anyhow, I got to get off here, guys. I appreciate it, and hopefully the worst situation is going to resolve itself, and he'll be able to come back and play before the season starts. So if anything, maybe miss a game or two. So keep him in your prayers, and let's. I'm ready for football, man. I'm ready. Even preseason, let's do it. It's right around the corner. Right around the corner. Let's do it. And go Bucks.